Mars' atmosphere is about to start growing at long last. We've been heating the atmosphere, but it hasn't actually been growing, and it's finally time. We might have finally figured out the point of all of these switches and valves as well. And speaking of atmosphere, CO2 jet propulsion is coming soon. Hello, Legion. This is Hadrian. Thank you for being here. Let's play some more Surviving Mars Green Planet in our Red Winter series. So yeah, I am sitting down to record this episode shortly after recording the previous one, so any discussion we had on those switches and valves that I kind of solicited in the last episode, I haven't had the chance to read yet, but there's some stuff that I figured out, and pretty handy. And one thing I might do as I begin here, we have the simulation on speed 1. I think as I begin, I'm going to add some power switches as well to relevant spots. So let's say I guess the smart thing to do would be to have them every few spots. Like we can have them here if we wanted. Although maybe the smarter idea is to have this, let's have this power switch set up right there. That way if there's any breaks in this line, like if there's any problems here, then we can shut that off entirely and there won't be a power leak. I don't know. There's still stuff that I'm figuring out. But the pipe valves are a little bit more obvious to me because of the way that oxygen leaks can affect the colony. So I guess we need to have another, maybe I'll wait to put down another valve until we've had more of a chance to discuss. But I've put my first valve here. Yeah, so maybe I won't do much with those as I begin the episode, because I'm still learning about the overall purpose of those. It's something I've never used in Surviving Mars at any point, and asked a question about it at the beginning of the last episode, and then kind of, just by putting my brain in that space, finally recognized some small use, and kind of the optimal placement for them is something that still eludes me. Now, we are still losing some water on account of the fact that we're waiting for these to be fixed. So what needs to happen is machine parts need to make their way over there. We are seconds away from the carbonate processor being finished, which is nice because that's a really big research project, and then hull polarization won't take nearly as long. We're building up rare metals again, and we might also be producing a decent amount of electronics at this point. Let's take a look at the colony statistics here. All right, so we have several colonists unable to work. Why is that? Also, we've got some middle-aged colonists, which means actually Isla Anderson is already a senior. So we're going to have to start looking into our old folks' home pretty soon. Let's go ahead and do that this episode. That seems like the right thing to do. We also need to go ahead and move that school, which is something I mentioned doing, so that we can actually have room for the old folks' home. Or do we want to have the old folks' home back? No. I'm going to stick with my original plan. All right, so the new school will be there. We'll remove the old school right here because we want to have the new dome. Now let's remove the remains of that building. Oh, it's already set to do that. Gotcha. I was wondering why the button looked different. All right, there's that. All right, now that that's done, they're going to build that school over there. But more importantly, I can queue up a new dome. We could do a different shape dome if we wanted to, but in this particular case, I'm not going to. Let's keep it simple. Keep it simple indeed. All right, so what's the... kind of like that as a distance setting. Let's see how this one compares. I just want to see how far into the dome this reaches. I kind of like the idea of having a pattern around the edge of this dome. Not necessarily perfect symmetry, but I want to be sensible about the placement here. Actually, that might work pretty well right there. It's not perfectly lined up, but we don't need it to be. Yeah, let's go with that. Let's actually have it perfectly lined up. That way the passageway will do what it needs to do. So with that in place, let's see where our drones can go. Yeah, drones can cover it with the existing resources, so I don't need to take anything else over there. We'll put that on high priority. We have the polymer to build it, we have the metal to build it, and then we will direct seniors to live in the new dome. And then we're going to have to bring more colonists down. But setting one of these up quickly, and I probably needed to get to this a little bit sooner, but setting one of these up quickly in Surviving Mars, and we've seen this in my past playthroughs on the channel, as far as those have gotten anyway, is pretty crucial, because until you have the ability to have the senior population keep working, once people age out of the working population, they have nowhere to go and they won't work. And so they sit there kind of just, I don't want to say dead weight, because that's cruel, but you need colonists to be as productive as possible as members of your Martian society. And that, if you don't have a place for them to go and live once they age out, then they're taking up spots in domes that would be better worked by younger colonists, both Martian-born and new arrivals. So if you're new to Surviving Mars, mark my words, you want to make sure that you set up what is essentially an old folks' home as quickly as you can every time, which is what we're doing now. And then, of course, we have some vistas over here. This improves the comfort of all residences in the radius of the dome. So we could do more over this direction if we built near these research sites or vistas. We have a few over here as well, but we're not quite close enough. And right now I'm still focused on the visual aesthetic of the colony and having things laid out in a way. It's not just the visual aesthetic. It's also, I want things to be clearly connected and cleanly connected. Now, another thing that I could do here is I could technically have a passageway. Yeah, I could have a passageway. If I were to move these buildings around a little bit, I would have to move them. Carbonate processor just finished. I can't wait. But I could have a passageway going from this dome to this dome here. And that way it would make it easier for people to go to this dome as needed, which I kind of like that idea. I might do that later. We're not going to do it right away. But okay, with the carbonate processor being done, we're now researching hull polarization, which, as you recall, means buildings will require maintenance less often. Cannot wait for that to be finished. That's going to take, it's going to take a while. Let's see. If it's 300 per soul, that means it's 3 1/3 days times 4. So 13 days and change it's going to take, unless we outsource, in which case that's going to chop off a lot of time. All right, let's go to terraforming because we have a very, very important new option. So the consumption on this thing is considerable. We're probably going to build a couple of carbonate processors as well. Matter of fact, it might be worthwhile to go ahead and consider building an outright... Hang on, let's take a look at where our drones can reach. It might be worthwhile to go ahead and consider building an outright, like an area of the colony that's devoted to these buildings. For now, I'll keep it simple and just build this thing. All right, there's no way to really build that too symmetrically. Or maybe there is. Let's put that thing there. Now that's just going to require power. Right now, the RC transport looks like it has work to do. Lots more metal to be discovered out here. There we go. Go. Perfect.
Crop failure reported.
Yeah, this thing requires a lot of concrete. That's one thing. We have the concrete to build it, but it's just going to take time to get everything in place. Once that's in place, though, this number is finally going to start climbing. And just to revisit those numbers, at 25% of each of the numbers we are currently growing, toxic range will start. At 25% temperature, we'll be able to have liquid water. And then at 50% atmosphere, dust storms will end, which hasn't really affected us. But one thing that will affect us is that 50% temperature, which means cold waves will end. Also notice that we have clear water rains start once there's a little bit more water on the surface. So there are some additional things we're going to need to start working on pretty much as soon as possible. But again, it's really interesting that the carbonate processor takes as long as it does to get started, or to get researched. But now that it's here, we will finally be able to start making more progress on the atmosphere of the planet. I just feel like that's one of the first things that you should be able to do to terraform Mars. But usually it's temperature that you start with. Yeah, I really want to outsource research. I just don't quite have the money for it at the moment. I mean, I do, but I want to save some of my money for bringing down additional parts. Because right now we're still building a good bit out here. We have 2 major buildings right now that are drawing on my concrete production. Also, oh wow, I didn't realize the machine parts demand there. Okay, well in that case, hang on. We are going to have to call down a cargo rocket right away. I did not even see that. I've built one of these before, but it's been long enough that I'd forgotten. So yeah, let's do that. Definitely not paying any money for outsourcing at the moment. I'm surprised we don't have the option for the Hawking. Oh, there it is. Just kidding. There's the Hawking Institute. So we could go ahead and queue that up. It's good that these are our next options, but I almost want to put the Martian Institute ahead of CO2 jet propulsion, though, because having that in place for more research sooner just seems... Yeah, I kind of do. Let's just queue those up for now, and we'll return to that later on. Okay, any other anomalies? I don't think so. We do have some additional scanning to queue up. There's that. We could put some sensor towers closer, but we're scanning areas that are just far from our colony at this point, so there's not much utility to that. All right, so we're waiting on 50 concrete here for the basic dome, and we're waiting on a lot more concrete and a lot more machine parts. Once all the metals have been put into place, that's one thing the drones don't have to worry about carrying back and forth, so they can focus on the other resources. We still, by the way, you might have noticed, don't have... Yeah, this situation over here has not gotten any better. I was kind of expecting the colony to resolve this itself, but it's not happening. So I'm going to have to go ahead and call this RC transport off. Actually, now that I'm seeing this, it's really annoying. Come over here and unload, please. And then where do we have machine parts? Come over here. Actually, no. I'll do you one better. Just come here and unload. And we're going to have this rocket land shortly, and that's carrying a bunch of machine parts. And we're going to have that thing load up at least a few machine parts and bring them down here. And that'll fix our... We currently don't have a water shortage at night anyway. But during the day, we definitely do. Again, once we're done researching this current project hole polarization, things should stabilize a little bit in every way. We're really lucky that we got that, especially when we did, because it's still relatively early in the colony's life, and that's something that can sometimes take until the end of a playthrough to pop up. It certainly did in the playthrough that I terraformed Mars previously, and that was lower difficulty, but imagine, even on a lower difficulty, not getting that boost until later on. You know, so the dice have certainly rolled in our favor multiple times. Nice, another rare metals deposit. Yeah, the dice have definitely rolled in our favor multiple times while we've been playing. Still waiting for the RC transport to unload. A eulogy for an everyday hero. We gather here today to bid a final farewell to one of our finest. Okay, so this is an old age death. Let's say thank you, fellow colonists. Unnatural deaths will cause applicants to leave the pool, but natural deaths don't. Earthlings understand that people do die, thankfully. Okay, so this trade offer, by the way, is still not working. Let's try and import machine parts instead. We can't offer fuel. All right, now with that being in place, the drones are going to go crazy and unload a bunch of machine parts. Some of which might get unloaded here. Yep. All right, so let's go ahead and have you load machine parts from here. I want you to load those two up. Okay, you got 3, perfect. And then I want you to come unload right over here so we can fix that problem directly. Because I was expecting the colony to handle that itself. Once the CO2 jet propulsion is in place, the colony will do a much better job. And the reason for that is, for those of you who are not familiar, we're going to have little drones flying around that will actually move things much faster than our ground drones. It's one thing about surviving Mars that, I mean, maybe there's supply chain stuff that I can set up that would help, but the game still is not very good at situations like this, where if you have a lot of your resources on one end of the colony, you would think that, like, the game would say, all right, I'm going to just get one drone from each hub that we have here to kind of establish a chain and work together to move the 1 or 2 resources that we need across the colony as soon as possible. The game just doesn't do that. But when you eliminate the fact that there's multiple lily pads to hop between for these ground-based drones, and you enter into the equation with flying drones, then the colony doesn't have to worry about that, and it can just hop resources from where they're stored to where they're needed much more quickly and efficiently. So that's the silver lining to that situation. All right, we still need more concrete over here, and I have plenty. So I'm going to go ahead and load up on concrete. Actually, the carbonate processor is almost done. I'm actually surprised at how much concrete's already poured in here. That's quite good. Let's go ahead and get rid of the old concrete extractor, now that we can do that. We'll eventually have another couple of these running, but we just want to have... We want to build, you know, as I was saying with the dome earlier, in the last episode, I want to build as things are needed. Maintenance required over here, huh? Oh yeah, all of our concrete is going into other things, and so there's some buildings that require concrete for maintenance that aren't getting it at the moment. That's annoying. All right, but this will fix it, actually. We're going to bring this stuff over here. Again. Now, what's going on here? Is it the same problem? Yeah. So the dome even has a maintenance issue. This is the kind of stuff that can sneak up on you when you start building a lot at once, but it's mainly due to the fact that we're building one carbonate processor, and we're almost done with that being a draw on our concrete supply. So that'll help. Yet another reason to have these built as soon as possible. Matter of fact, I'm going to put them ahead of utility crops. Why not? I've talked myself into it. All right. So now we've just unloaded a bunch of concrete, and drones should start maintaining nearby structures. Yeah, you can see them just going to town. They're mostly taking it over to the basic dome, which makes sense because that's set on high priority. Which is part of the reason that I think it's set on high priority by default. But we'll need to be careful with the construction of new buildings. Another thing we could do to help with this issue is we could just go ahead, once this building is running, and we can have this concrete extractor, or this concrete here being extracted. That would help a lot. I'm going to go ahead and lay that down, even though we're not going to be able to necessarily get it built just yet. Yeah, that should work right there. It's not a lot of concrete, it's just 300, but it's better than what we had previously. And why is this still not built? Just no concrete. It's all been going towards the carbonate processor. Now we're just waiting on machine parts, which ironically we're almost out of. That snuck up on me. How did that happen? We're running out of machine parts, and I don't have any money with which to order more. That's a problem. So let's go ahead. Yeah, we're requesting machine parts. Offering polymers. Why don't we offer metal? In larger amounts. Need some machine parts, guys, if there's a way to do that. Yeah, I'm shocked at how quickly those got eaten up. I'm guessing it's due to our good friends here, the large wind turbines. But I wasn't building anything new that was really demanding. I think I just probably built, I expanded the power infrastructure fast enough to where now we're gobbling up more machine parts during the day. It might also be that this dome is not working, but the dome is working, though. It's just the dome itself that's malfunctioned. What does that even mean when this happens? That's one thing that's not clear to me completely. Okay, well, tell you what. As confounding as that is, let's go get some concrete again and bring it back. We'll go up to speed 3 so it happens a little bit faster, because this dome is almost ready. It's really surprising. I just thought we were in better shape. Right, good. That's finally done.
There
Yes.
are Earth-sick colonists.
Oh, you're freaking kidding me. Yeah, no kidding, because the drones won't repair anything. Well, again, they had that all on high priority, so they were technically doing what they're supposed to do. But again, once maintenance is not as much of a problem, we won't have this issue prop up as much. All right, good. That dome finally got repaired. You have all the concrete you need. Let's go ahead and have you come back over here. The concrete I'm about to unload will help build new stuff in this dome. And of course, we need more concrete for the passage, too. 20 concrete for that one passage. Think of how much the dome required. For this passage, we need 20. It's crazy. It seems like we might need to do a little bit more oxygen production now, which is fine. I can manage that. All right, good. It's nice to see that school finally in place. We moved it forever ago. 3 colonists are now Earthsick. We might be able to bring more down soon, but I would prefer to raise the comfort of the colonists that are Earthsick. So why are you... Okay. So this is Dmitry Egorov. He's vegan. Doesn't like the fact that we have animal cruelty on the colony. Okay. You realize we're on Mars and we need to survive, and some people eat meat. You realize that, right? Makes no sense for you to be that impassioned that it's affecting your sanity. I should have filtered out vegans for the initial. Vegans can come later on. Right now, we need people to survive. No offense to vegans, but right now, that mindset is counterintuitive to the productivity of my colony. Thank you very much. Man. I probably put that 1 space farther out. No, it's actually, space-wise, it's pretty good. All right, so now that we have that thing running, I could turn on Amplify, which would increase its power consumption a little bit, but also increase its production. But the additional concrete production over here will really help us not have to shuttle concrete back and forth, which is quite nice. All right, so let's see, before I end this episode, let's take a look at our passenger situation. Right now, we only have 7 matching applicants for our current specializations. But it would allow me to bring down a rocket, which... Yeah, I'm tempted to do this. This would allow me to bring down a rocket, which would then allow me to have a rocket closer, which I could export rare metals with and then make some money from. Because my rocket right now, I mean, I can move rare metals around, but we need more colonists anyway. I just prefer to bring more at a time. I'm going to go ahead and launch this rocket. Wait, what? Abort. Hold that thought. Okay. What I'm going to do instead at the end of this episode is we're going to go ahead and queue up some apartments for our senior citizens that will soon be coming to live here in this dome that we've built for them. So, we place it like, let's put it there so they're not sitting, so their window doesn't look right at the concrete extractor and the smoke rising from it. But there's that. Carbonate processor is still waiting on machine parts because we're almost out, which is part of the reason we need money. So the machine parts are going to be a big focus of the next episode, and getting some in any way that we really can. Because I'm honestly surprised at how quickly I ran out of those. I think it was just that I needed 50 for this carbonate processor and didn't process that. Part of me, part of me wants to be critical of that because that's like the basic atmosphere building. And it takes so long to research it, and then you get it, and it's so expensive to build. It kind of makes me wonder if that's something that they'll make a little bit less punishing in future builds. But then again, it might just be me. There might be things about my supply chain that I can improve, and you guys can tell me about that in the comments if so. I'm certainly better at surviving Mars than I used to be, I think, but there are still things that sneak up on me. Obviously, that's what's happened this episode, so we're going to have to manage that in the next one and hope that more colonists don't get Earthsick in the meantime, because when we bring down those 7 that we're going to be launching soon, 3, unless we fix this, are going to want to leave. But one of them is going to be the vegan, and right now, I can't say I'm too sad about that, because, you know, we need these guys to... Oh yeah, that's right, I also need to set up different livestock types. Chicken, turkey, and goose. Yeah, goose is already grown. But yeah, so we have some food production happening there. So food is great. I could offer to export food, and that could help bring in some machine parts. I don't know. Especially if I bring more colonists down. But we'll focus on all of that in the next episode. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this one, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to follow along. New episodes are coming out every day at 1 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. Comments are always welcome. Let me know what you think. and I'll see you next time.